Yeah, doing perfectly well. Uh, yeah, it's been a tough few days for any Manchester United fan out there. Uh, just one sec. Can you say something once? Okay. Yeah, yeah, just one sec. Say something now. One sec. Now?
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, yeah, good, good, good.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me just. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Manchester United Real West. Antony in trouble. Jenny Sancho touched Ten Hag. Amrabat injured, or is he injured? Talk about the whole club in general. As always, throw your interesting questions in the chat. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Shreyas alongside me. Hello, Shreyas. How you doing? Everything
Yeah.
you just missed
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
was on
that
mute.
was just a speed run of it.
Yeah, that was on times 2 on WhatsApp. That's what that was.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying, it's been a very bad few days for any Manchester United fan out there. Sancho and Ten Hag basically having a falling out, and then a lot of things coming out about about how the team has actually reacted to all of this as well. That the team players as well as the dressing room are not that happy with the way Sancho has reacted to everything that's happened, and at the same time they actually backed Ten Hag for the way he has actually conducted himself throughout everything that has happened in this whole scenario. And even the players feel that no player should be given special treatment just because they have because of the wages that they are being paid, or because of the fact that they are talented, because at the end of the day what matters is the amount of effort you actually put in on the pitch. And if that is lacking, if you cannot put that amount of effort onto the pitch, then I don't think that you deserve to be on the bench. And that's what pretty much Ten Hag has said. Now I think Sancho could have reacted to it in a in a lot of different uh, scenarios. He could have he could have taken it on a positive note. He could have taken it, even if he didn't like, or he didn't agree with what Ten Hag had to say, he could have just shown himself up in training, and probably actually made a statement through his own performances on the field. But that's not really been happening. And except Sancho, the Antony saga is something that is very concerning now as well, because the Brazilian Federation has dropped him. At the same time, we can actually see that a lot of pressure is actually being created on the club as well as the board to actually make a decision about Antony. So it's going to be a tough few days, especially till the time club football actually starts back again, till this international break ends. It's going to be a very hectic patch of time. Nick.
Talk about concerning. I was listening to your points there, but there's a wasp in my room flying around, so I'm very aware. In because the blind is like closed, and I don't know where it's gone, which is also very worrying. The camera, please do let me know, because I have no fucking idea where that has gone, and I am terrified of wasps. If it's a spider or snake or whatever, I'm not bothered, but wasps terrify the fucking life out of me. I don't know where it's gone. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to discuss Antony. I take your points about Jadon Sancho, and we'll definitely dive into Jadon Sancho 100%. Antony's the main story at the minute, because the developments of this kind of getting more and more worrying. A third woman has now showed up accusing Antony of physical assault. Record TV will air an interview with Ingrid Lana on Sunday evening, apparently. And then more and more stuff coming out saying that Gabriella Carvalins, which is his ex-missus now, I think, her case against Antony isn't the first accusation made against him. A police report from May 2022 made Reisa de Freitas also described violent behavior. It's fucking there. Whoa. Where's that gone, man? Yeah, I'm just gonna describe violent behaviour from Antony. Oh my, right. Just give me 1 second. Let me just
Yeah,
deal with this. Literally
yeah,
1 second.
yeah, sure. For anyone who does not grab the context or is just joining, Nick is fighting a wasp in his room right now. Right now the score is 1-1, but hopefully Nick can win in injury time. I think Nick has won.
I think it's dead.
Yeah,
I think it's dead.
Nick has defeated the wasp.
I just threw a crock at it. Proper like he was having an English fashion way to kill a wasp. It's throw a fucking crock at it. I think it's dead anyway. Hopefully. Sorry. Yeah, just obviously completely off the cusp there. But that situation's been dealt with, so we can now just focus on the thing. Yeah, sorry. So the last bit of this. I appreciate it's a sensitive story, but the victim claimed to be physically assaulted by Antony and a woman in a car in Sao Paulo. She was admitted to the hospital with bodily injuries and had her exams taken to the civil police. United have been advised to proceed cautiously in relation to the abuse allegations surrounding Antony on the basis that police inquiries are taking place in both Brazil and UK. And innocent until proven guilty remains an important principle in both jurisdictions. And United basically declining to comment on the further ones that have come out. This obviously doesn't look great. It's another. I said to you off camera. It's another case of either teach or leech. If it is true, obviously you don't go down the Greenwood route and handle it as badly as you did. You deal with it accordingly and you get rid of him. If it's the other case where it's women trying to make money or whatever it is, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying it's two sides to the story. Then you just have to deal with it in the correct manner. How are you feeling about these reports that are coming out in a minute, Shreyas? It's not great, is it? Another kind of United forward linked with something like this. It's like we can't. Obviously, if it is true, feel like I said, deal with it accordingly. But it's just relentless at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, and it just feels like we are we try to actually get out of something, like we try to get out of a particular story, and somehow we end up in the same condition all over again. And right now the Mason Greenwood chapter just ended. Like it looked like finally we can move forward, finally things are actually moving in a different direction and we can actually move forward. But then this whole news about Antony comes in, and there are actually a lot of downsides as to what is happening right now. Because one thing is, because it is still an investigation and Antony has not been charged actually, so we cannot, United cannot officially suspend him, because until he's actually declared guilty or it is declared that he might be guilty, till that time United cannot actually take an action on it. And it means that Antony can play at least for that point of time. If he actually gets charged, that's when United will have to take an action. That's when things actually are out of the club of the out of the control of the club, and they have to take an action on Antony. But as of now, um, it is because it is the person who is saying that they are the victim. It is their word against Antony's word. So right now there is nothing which can be said as to whether he's guilty or not. So I still think that perhaps there is a light in which we can say that Antony is being falsely accused. It can happen. It has happened to footballers before. But if it's not, then it means that we've invested practically 85 million euros into this player, and now we are in the same position as to, all over again as last to last season, where we don't actually have a winger.
Yeah. Gray 100 saying he's not good enough for United, but we could expect someone with mental health issues to always act rational. I think he's referring to James Sancho there. Yeah. But yeah, look, for Antony, I know they say you should never judge a book by its cover, but he is quite an intense character, isn't he? Like, when you watch him on the pitch, he is quite aggressive and intense. I'm not suggesting that means he's thingy, but his personality certainly displays that for me. I hope that just is on the pitch, of course. Yeah. But I mean, if there's ever a silver lining in anything like this, Shreyas, if it turns out Antony is a scumbag and we do end up removing him from the thing, we do have wingers there in Palestra and Ahmad who should be given a chance, in my personal opinion. And if we was a team like West Ham or whoever, if Jared Bowen, goes missing on the right-hand side, who do they replace him with? They don't have that kind of depth. So having someone like that, do you see opportunities for any of them two boys in Ahmad and Palestra? Obviously, Ahmad's injured at the minute. Yeah. Palestra, slightly different. Do you see any of them getting any opportunities at all? And who do you think's higher in the pecking order for you?
I think right now, if it actually happens that Antony has to be suspended, then I think he will actually put in Garnacho on the right, because that's what he did against Arsenal as well. Yeah, I think he'll stick with Garnacho, because I've seen him rely a lot more on Garnacho in throughout this whole patch of time. You see preseason, you see last season, you even see up until now that the season has started. He has relied more on Garnacho. He's not relied that much on Sancho as well. Even when this whole story didn't come out and Sancho's lashing out on the manager didn't come out, he still picked Garnacho ahead of him. So I think he will stick with Garnacho on the right. I think in any scenario, Rashford will not be shifted from the left hand side. I think Rashford will stick off the left wing. He won't, want to change his position from the right hand side or actually playing centrally. I think Rashford sticks on the left hand side. I think Hoyland will stick up front, but I think right now I think it's going to be Garnacho. And if it's not Garnacho, then I think it's just Palestri because Ahmad still has like a couple of months of more recovery time and rehabilitation time. That's after when he will actually come in. So possibly we could be seeing Garnacho being played there, or we could be seeing Pelistri being played there, or we can also see Mason Mount or Bruno being stuck onto the right, and then Ericsson playing in the 10 behind Casemiro and Amrabat.
This times coincidentally with Jadon
Yeah,
Sancho's thing because you think, right, we need a winger to fill in there. Let's go get. Oh wait, we can't because he's had a bust up with the manager, Jadon Sancho. So
yeah,
Romano tweeted last night, and there's been developments on this, so this is just kind of chronological order. But the situation between Jadon Sancho and Eric Ten Hag is very tense. They will try to resolve things in the next days with direct contacts between player, manager, and coaching staff. And then Sky Sports reported that Sancho will work and talk with the United coaching staff during the international break, with all parties committed to getting him back to his best. Sources close to United feel it would have been difficult to explain the long absence as solely injury related when that wasn't the case when they revealed his mental health struggles without permission in December in 2022. So I think that's why Jadon Sancho was a little bit pissed off as well. Ten Hag also believes physical and mental fitness are linked with the requirement to be able to in both play elite level football. And one source said that there's little sympathy for Jadon Sancho inside the dressing room, saying the players have had enough of him. But that's coming from Mark Ogden, who's neither here or there when it comes to reporting. But with this, Shreyas, there's two sides of my, I don't know about you, there's two sides of my brain lighting up when I reflect on the Jadon Sancho situation. One side is saying, don't forget what happened in Dele Alli when he came out and everyone was saying mental health first and these things matter. You don't know what people are going on behind closed doors. And I absolutely agree with that. And then the other side is kind of thinking, can you think of three standout moments from Jadon Sancho since he's been at the club?
not really. Like the
Honestly,
only,
I
I think
can't.
I only remember one where he scored against City. That's all.
Yeah, and
Like
I know
that's
that
it.
sounds insensitive, but I think both are true. I think, look, if it is mental health that you're struggling with, of course that comes first. You address it, and football doesn't matter in that regard. If it's affecting your performances on the pitch, it must do because he's
Yeah.
not been performing how we thought he is. And then you've seen reports coming out from people on the training ground or in media saying that he thinks he kind of has this God-given gift and he doesn't apply himself properly in training. There's videos of him not doing press-ups properly and giving his all and just little things like this. So it seems to be a reoccurring thing. Do you think it is a disciplinary issue? Do you think he's not applying himself? Do you think it's a bit more than that? What's your take on the situation?
I think it could be the fact that he doesn't really train that well. Because, like you mentioned, Dele Alli, there was one thing with Dele Alli which was being said every single time that he doesn't train well. Like during training, he isn't going to be one of your top performers. Similarly with Sancho, I've never really seen, like I've heard a lot of stuff being said about him at Dortmund that he doesn't train well. He doesn't really he's not able to form that synergy alongside his teammates in a lot of scenarios. Like a majority of his teammates didn't really know how to actually play off with him. And on the same hand, the manager also used to believe that he's not performing or he's not actually training with the sort of intensity that he actually can. He takes it a lot more casually, and that's the stuff that has been happening a lot of times at United as well. Um, I think if you look at it from the manager's perspective as well, uh, people shouldn't forget that Ten Hag practically gave him like 17 games off just so that he
Yeah,
can
yeah,
he can
yeah.
get his head straight, he can take his time. And even when he came back, Ten Hag never rushed him into a game. Like he gave him 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, slowly and steadily he actually reintegrated him into the side. And I think from the manager's side, I think Ten Hag has done whatever he could. Like you can see that Ten Hag has actually tried everything single thing possible to actually make Jadon Sancho a part of this team and actually get the best out of him. Because he's been played off the left, he's been played off the right, he's been played as a 10, he's been played as an 8, progressive 8, and at the same time he's been, used as a false 9. And in none of those positions I can say that, Jadon Sancho was our best player in the team. Of the left, I can say it's Sancho. Of the right, actually, I can say that, you can see Antony actually putting in more work than Sancho does, because I get that Antony, when we are progressing forward, he for some reason he just slows the pace of the game down and allows teams to reshape. But when it comes to defensive work, Antony, the way he performs, he actually helps us in conceding a lot less goals. On the 10, I would say Bruno is the best player we have. And when you have to talk centrally, I think Hoyland seems to be the much better choice than actually playing Sancho. So
Yeah.
if you want to be a part of this team, you need to be, excelling in at least one of those positions. And right now, Sancho cannot do that.
And hard working as well off the
Exactly.
ball,
Yeah.
which is another thing that he's been criticised for. It's weird because when obviously me and Sam went to that Talk of the Devils live the other night, and we were speaking to like people like Laurie Whitwell and Andy Mitten and stuff after the show, sorry, and they were saying there's a similar thing about Sancho. What you just said, like, don't forget, Ten Hag has tried dealing with this like in a million ways. He sent him off to the mountains to go do his thing, come back stronger. We was all expecting, we had this expectation then for him to come back and and be that player that we got from Dortmund, and that didn't quite materialise. It was like, right, okay, maybe he needs a little bit more time. But what else can Ten Hag do now? Like, sometimes you have to do that tough love route to try and get a reaction out of the player, and it either works or it either goes the complete opposite way. And I don't think Jadon Sancho's that kind of personality to take tough love and then, I think he needs loving and he needs quality around him. I think he's one of them kind of luxury players. Just my personal opinion. I think if you put him in a certain setup now, abroad, you put him in the Italian league or La Liga, it's slightly slower. I think he'd do well. I think he'd persevere at a Barcelona or somewhere like that. I just don't think he suits the intensity of the Premier League. And we've said similar things
I
about a
think
lot of
teams
players.
where the forwards have to actually, put in a lot of work. They need to, be very, very much agile, when it comes to tracking back and actually progressing with the ball forward as well. I think that's the area Sancho cannot actually perform that well, because he doesn't have that pace. For Sancho to get if you have to get the best out of Sancho, you need to play in, you need to play him with the team that is, not that much into pressing. They're much more into the passing game. They don't really need wingers to, transition a lot when it comes to interchanging their places or creating spaces. He needs a team that is much more, conservative and much more dependent on the passing. So I think in a team like you mentioned Real Sociedad, you mentioned Barcelona, that's the sort of teams where Sancho can actually work quite well.
Yeah, I agree. We've got more and more people joining the chat. Please do leave a like on the video for us and subscribe to the channel. I think everyone's just thought we've gone missing because yesterday there was no show last night. So everyone's like, oh, they've stopped now.
Yeah.
But obviously we've not. We've just had a lot of stuff. I was seeing Shreyas off camera, a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, which a lot of people don't know about. But it's sorted now to a certain extent. So yeah, we're back and we'll be live again. I'll be live again at 7 o'clock. To go through a bit more news and stuff, and then we've got loads of content coming up. So as always, please do keep liking and commenting, and we'll read your comments out. Your place in the Cosmos, already read that out. Sorry, Shah Sam says, how do you think Sancho performed as a false 9 in pre-season? Shreyas, what do you think?
I'll just say I've seen a lot of practically every single game of pre-season in which Sancho came on and played as a false 9, and all I would say is that when Hoyland came on during that 20 minutes against Arsenal, he looked much more like a threat. He looked much more like a danger man in comparison to what Sancho pulled in, those 3 to 4 games where he played. So I think it can work. I'm saying that it can work, but for that to work, he needs to be able to play in the likes of Marcus Rashford or Antony or Garnacho. But that didn't happen. What the thing was used to happen was he showed a lot of agility. He used to progress forward, but that front three was not able to link, and that was one of the major concerns when you play a false 9.
I think he was doing that simply because he was thinking, right, well, Hoyland might not get in until the end of the window, or he might not even get in at all.
Yeah.
And if he does, he's going to be injured. If Marcus Rashford gets injured, Martial's already out. Like, we actually won't have a striker to play there. So we need to train someone in that spot who can do a job there. Isn't necessarily great there, but if we need someone to come in, let's just put him in there and we can play the wingers off him if we have to. I don't think Jadon Sancho, I don't think that'll ever work in the Premier League. I really don't. Maybe in a cup game, if you're playing, I don't know, a Reading with like 11 men behind the ball, maybe it can work. I just don't. The physicality of the Prem, Sancho in there, I don't see it working personally. And then you take away the finish. Yes, he can link up and, back to goal, get the wingers in behind, whatever. But in terms of actual finishing, he isn't an amazing finisher in my personal opinion.
One-on-one,
So
I've never seen him taking chances. Like one-on-one, I've never seen him taking chances.
Like you mentioned the City game where great finish outside the box, but apart from that, since he's joined, he's got like 2, 3, 4 goals per season. Do you know what I mean? Which is just like, I think some wingers have got that now already in the Premier League, and he's got 4 games.
Yeah, definitely.
He has been extremely underwhelming for me, Jadon Sancho. I know there's a player there. I watched him at Dortmund that season when he got 18 goals.
Because
and 16 assists,
to be totally blunt, I can actually take 3 best performances of Antony already if I have to pick it. In a Manchester United shirt, like 3 best performances that you have to take out of Antony. So you can go the Fulham game where Marco Silva, Mitrovic, and Willian got a red card, and he came on and he was like absolutely aggressive, taking all the defenders and moving ahead. Actually, even managed to almost get a solo goal. His performance against Manchester City as well, where he scored a complete banger right from outside the box. And on the same hand, his performance against Barcelona in the Europa League last season as well. Like he was practically one of the better players on the pitch. And last season, I would say after the World Cup, till the time that mid-March actually time came in, he was our most improved player after the World Cup. One of our most improved players.
Yeah, a lot of people give Antony shit, and I understand it because we get frustrated. I mean, how many watch-alongs have we done where he's had about 6 or 7 shots and missed every single one of them, or he's not squared it when he's supposed to, or when he cuts back and slows down the game? They are frustrations that are there, 100%. But he's also, when he went missing, it was a period like for a good couple of weeks last season when he went missing, and you really noticed it on the right-hand side. It was like, fucking hell, we need Antony back on there, just because of what he brings off the ball as well. His defensive work is really, really good. So, look, I know he's got his flaws, and obviously he's got this situation ongoing at the minute, but we're quite lucky in the respect that regardless whatever winger situation it is, even if Antony goes and Sancho goes, you've still got Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad, Palestre. Like, you've still got talented players who can play there on that side. So, look, we'll have to see developments on that. I hope Jadon Sancho comes good. I hope Antony comes good, because that's £150 million worth of talent there.
Yeah.
That if they was on song and if they was performing, God knows where we'd be. Like, if they was living up to their reputation and the ceiling that they have, we should be flying at the minute. Goals, like we had that situation with Greenwood, Martial and Rashford. Remember when we scored like 50-odd goals or 60-odd goals? It was second most in Europe behind Liverpool. That are the numbers that we should be putting in with the talent that we've got in that front three. But they don't get nowhere near enough.
The biggest frustration with Antony that I actually have is you can see what he wants to do, and you can see what idea he actually has in his mind when he is on the ball. But his decision-making at the last minute just hurts him a lot. And sometimes the way he actually finishes off his chances, he over-relies on his left foot. Even when he's, trying to finish off chances, he over-relies on it a lot. I think if in just a certain occasion, like out of 10 chances, if he even takes 3 of those chances on his right, I think he can get goals. And I think I have the same concern with Rashford as well since the season has started. Whenever they have the ball, whenever they have the ball on the wings, I don't know for what reason they just don't sprint. Like they don't bomb. They against Arsenal, you saw Martinelli and Saka. They had the ball and they used to bomb down the wings. They didn't even have to use look backwards. They just used to move forward, go in with the cross. With Rashford and Antony, the situation used to be they got the ball. It was a 3-second sprint. Then they used to stop. They used to just, huddle around with the ball and then pass it backwards. So it allows the opponent team to actually reshape. And with the kind of pace that you've got with the likes of Marcus Rashford and with Antony, you expect them to actually, bomb down the wings, take on defenders, just glide past players. And we don't see that. We actually see that more when Garnacho and Palestre come on at times.
Yeah. Well, it might be surprising, but I actually see a lot of positives going forward. I know people are worried because we lost to Spurs and we lost to Arsenal, but I think I said this in the chat as well. Once everybody's fit and they've played a number of games together, you look at that back line, like did extremely well against Arsenal. They kept Saka
Even Varane comes back as well.
Extremely quiet. Yeah, Varane comes back into that fold. Sancho gets up to scratch. Nana looks fantastic. So that back line, Shaw is out as well. Like he can still come back in.
Malacia is out as well.
still look good, even though it was disjointed and two of our best players were out of it. They still look really, really good.
Yeah.
So that's not a worry. Casemiro seems like he's getting up to speed now. Anyone who's watched La Liga before or him at Real Madrid knows that he's a slow starter, notoriously.
Yeah.
I mean, McTominay was keeping him out of the team last season when he signed, and it took him a while to get to speed. But when he did,
be back. Yeah,
he was the greatest player for us.
The thing with Casemiro is, and it's been something that he has been doing at Real Madrid as well, it takes him like 7 to 8 games. Like you have to wait 7 to 8 games, but the thing is, when Casemiro hits form, you've got him for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Like you cannot say that 5 games he's there. No, he's there for the next 45 games. He's going to perform. And now that you've got Amrabat in, I think if he has to play that progressive midfielder, I would actually play Casemiro as a progressive midfielder, because if you have to compare him with the other eights that we have, he's got better passing, he's got better vision, he's got better interception and work rate, and the ball recovery is very creative. And the shot, at times when he takes shots from outside the box, he is actually pretty decent of that as well. So I think at least till I think there's still no update as to when Mason Mount comes back officially. So until then, I think Casemiro, Amrabat, and Bruno, I think if they are able to click, we've got a very decent midfield.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to touch on the midfield as well, because Kobe Mainu is out injured, who looked like he was being pushed for a spot. So once Amrabat comes into the fold, Kobe Mainu there as well, like you really start having that midfield competition. Eriksen, Mount, Bruno, Casemiro, Amrabat, Kobe Mainu, like that's what I mean. Once you get that balance right in certain games, you can switch it up as well. If you're playing, I don't know, let's say for example, Crystal Palace at their ground and they're just trying to play on the counter attack and they're doing that low block, you bring on an Eriksen to open up, Bruno and Eriksen to open up certain spots or whatever. Yeah. Then when you're playing our first game, one of our games back is Bayern Munich away. That's where you play Amrabat, Casemiro and Bruno together, like we've mentioned that before. But we had a report last night, of course, didn't we, Shreyas? And I'm going to get to your comments in a second, so keep getting them in, please, and leave a like on the video. But Amrabat, we had a report last night that he got injured on international duty. Obviously, as a United fan, you're thinking, fuck's sake, like again, this is another spoke on the wheel that's just going around a shit wheel for United. However, we had new reports confirming Sofiane Amrabat's injury is not a major setback. Morocco's manager has replaced him in the squad to give him a chance to get back to 100% fitness ahead of his new adventure at Manchester United. And we are going to need him fit and firing, aren't we, for the games like I've just mentioned, Bayern Munich, stuff like that. Do you think he'll be a regular starter for us in that midfield?
Yeah. I think he will 100%. I think it definitely will be. And I think the best thing about Amrabat coming in is that it pushes the level of the other players that are around. Like you mentioned Kobe Mainu, like you mentioned Mason Mount. These players will have to step up a lot more. And once this competition for places actually starts, it actually starts on a healthy level. You can see players actually performing much better, even in whatever minutes you give them. If you have to bring them off the bench, if you have to use them as rotation, because the thing is, a lot of people have been saying that Mason Mount might, because of the signings that we made, Mason Mount might be unhappy that he won't be getting enough game time when he comes back in. But the point is actually, Ten Hag makes so many rotations in a game. Like within a game, he makes so many changes. At the 65th minute, people sometimes expect him to make 2 or 3 changes straight off the bat, and that's something that has been happening throughout the course of last season. And if you remember the game that we had against Tottenham, where we were just cruising 2-0 in the first half, and then in the second half we brought on Fred and Weghorst, and then we conceded 2 goals.
Yeah.
With the change of pace, probably you can now bring on the likes of Casemiro and or Mainu in those sort of games, if you have to rest them. Or if Casemiro is on the pitch, you can bring on Amrabat, you can bring on Mason Mount off the bench. And the thing is, from what I've seen, at least up until now, that actually Mount got injured, I think Eriksen will play once again. He'll play a big role in this season as well, because he still actually has got a lot to offer. And in the big games as well, if you have to play him in the 10, because his vision and his passing accuracy is something that he hasn't lost even now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting to see what everybody thinks about that, how we're going to be starting after the international break. We've got 20 people in the chat. Put your starting 11, like out of everyone who's available, whether fit, injured, whatever, just out of the players that we've got on paper, give us your starting 11, strongest starting 11 for Manchester United, how you would go into these next set of games. I think we got Burnley, Bayern Munich and Brighton, I think, if I'm not wrong. So they're 3 very tough games. Burnley, scrap, fighting for the life. Brighton have been unbelievable, apart from the West Ham game. And then Bayern Munich, with the signings that they've made, it's going to be so tough. But yeah, we've got Shah Sam saying, sorry, I already read that out. Dan Emerson saying, I'd use Sancho as a backup false nine and get rid of Martial. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but getting rid of Anthony Martial is easier said than done. You just can't sell him. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I think it'll be another one who runs down his contract, Martial.
Same.
I think he'll go on a free somewhere.
At least, we actually need him fit to actually offload him as well. And I would say for the past 2 transfer windows, he's been injured. So it's very tough to actually offload an injured player.
Fit, Shreyas.
Yeah.
At the minute, it's probably the longest he's ever stayed fit.
Yeah.
So let's hope that continues because fucking hell. He did nothing in the Arsenal game, by the way. I said that in the review after.
He looked injured, and we were seeing rumors that he probably pulled something during warm up. I think it was true.
He definitely he'd done something because he was just jogging about like them women who go on jogs with weights in their hands when they're in the thing. He looked like one of them.
He just couldn't run.
No. And then Højlund came on, it was like the polar opposite, wasn't it? It was just like shoving people off, sprinting.
He absolutely bullied Gabriel at the back line. Caused a lot of issues.
That's one player I'm really, really excited to see when we get back a full 90 minutes from him because he's going to be a problem. If he gets his shooting boots on and starts finishing, he will be a serious problem in the league. Charles Sam saying, played devil's advocate. I think he played relatively well in pre-season at false 9, speaking about Sancho. Beginning of the season, we had no striker. I think he expected to start as a false 9 in those games, but didn't play. Well, just on that, Charles Sam's playing devil's advocate there. Has he deserved more chances, do you think, at the start of the season? Should he at least got a 1 start?
I think probably he could have started in the Spurs game because I think a lot of people expected Rashford to actually move from the striker position to the left wing and actually use Sancho as a false 9 in that game. But Sancho still stuck with Garnacho in that game of the left and stuck Rashford up top. So it just says that the manager actually doesn't feel that Sancho can do the job for us. Especially, with the kind of start that we had against Wolves, you would expect certain changes to be made. Because, like I mentioned, creating chances has never been the problem for United this season. Like, we're a team that creates a lot of chances. We're a team who, if we start finishing off those chances, we can actually score 3 or 4 in within one game itself. We are that sort of team right now. The problem that we have is we are not able to take all of our chances. And, it actually took 4 games for Rashford to actually, strike a goal. And he was a first forward to actually strike a goal throughout this season. So I think now that Højlund is in, I've seen much more from him. The point is that I've just seen much more from other players, and the biggest reason is he's only even before all of this happened, and he was dropped off from the bench as well for Arsenal. You could only see him getting 20 to 25 minutes at max in games. He used to be subbed on, get 20-25 minutes, and then that just used to be it. So if he was able to, if Ten Hag saw that, Sancho as a false 9 is something that can be productive for us, I think he would have used him against Wolves, against Spurs. He would have used him, but he didn't. So he might actually have a perfectly good reason for doing so.
I think one of our biggest weapons, and we both know this, is us on the transition. When you get it to Bruno Fernandes or an Eriksen, look what happened in the Arsenal game. Marcus Rashford on that left-hand side, when he does that inverted run, how many goals have come from that when we played against a big team? Liverpool, City, wherever. Sancho can't do that. He can't do well. I say that in pre-season, he had a sprint where I was like, I think did he outdo Gabriel? I think it was.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, whoa, where's his pace come from? Like, it looked really, really quick. But typically, he doesn't usually do it, does he? So, like you say, he lacks that pace, and that's predominantly what you need for a winger. If you don't have your pace, then you just.
And this formation and the way we played demands space from our wingers.
Exactly.
It demands.
Yeah, look at Garnacho's goal against Arsenal. Exact same transition in behind, you get your goal. So obviously, he wants to play a certain way. I don't think Ten Hag wouldn't have signed Jadon Sancho if he wasn't here, and he just, if he was still at Dortmund and Ten Hag joined. I don't think he'd sign Jadon Sancho. I really, really don't. So look, it's going to be hard for him to get back into the squad, but that's what competition is all about. Equally, someone mentioned Christian Eriksen in the chat before. Said once everyone is back and fit, I can't see Christian Eriksen playing. And
I see him playing.
That's another. Well, it's a weird dynamic. Last night he played San Marino, and again, it is San Marino, so I take that.
Yeah.
It's basically a lot of part-timers who work at Asda, but it's San Marino. But yeah, 90 minutes, 140 touches, 90 out of 100 successful passes, 19 final third passes, 6 chances created, 3 shots, and 3 assists. So he did impress, and he impressed me against Arsenal on the ball. Obviously, off the ball, he has issues why Ødegaard scored, which I always mention and probably mention too much. But do you think there could be an experiment here where you look at the players that we've got in that midfield and the amount of options that we have. You could do, I don't know, a Casemiro, Amrabat, Eriksen, push Bruno out onto the wings. Or you bring him out in the 10, you'd bring Eriksen back into the 8. Just like, do you think there'll be a lot of chopping changes like that throughout the season?
I think one thing will be we'll know the best midfield that Ten Hag sees. Like we'll see what is Ten Hag's go-to first three, and I think in that first three you can say that Casemiro will definitely be there, Bruno will definitely be there. That the third choice, that third area, whether it will be Eriksen, whether it will be Amrabat, will be Menu, whether it will be Mason Mount. I think that area is something which is still being explored, but I think that will be locked down pretty soon. And once that happens, you can see that being used much more extensively, and especially in set games, like you mentioned Luton Town, you mentioned Burnley. In this sort of games, you can instantly see Christian Eriksen being brought into the team. Because against teams that play a low block, your Crystal Palaces and every single team like that, you will need a Christian Eriksen in that team to actually break that team down. You will need that sort of professionalism, and at the same time, you need that sort of creative vision. And I think that's what Eriksen brings into this team.
Dan's saying there, I've not. No, Bruno is not a winger. Like playing matter out wide, their 10's not wingers, and I agree with that. I don't typically like Bruno Fernandes on the wing. However, I think if you want to get balls into the box for Højlund, Bruno will provide that. That's one thing that he will. He does that fake shot. That fake shot he always does.
Who can cross the ball in.
He sends the man, and then he puts the ball in. See Bruno do it so many times. Eriksen's done it as well from the West Ham goal, if I can remember, when Rashford got the header.
Rashford scored the header.
And Antony doesn't cross. Rashford rarely crosses. So you need that supply line for Højlund, and I think that's why you will see Bruno Fernandes or Mount on that right-hand side. I'd probably prefer Mount there because he's played there a lot more often in that kind of wing position for Chelsea as like the front three. But I think there is a lot of options there, and you can surprise.
I think now that Højlund is in, you need to put in more crosses. Like you genuinely need to put in more crosses, especially from the wings. And I've seen Garnacho actually pulling in much more accurate crosses than Rashford and Antony at his age and at his experience.
They're all naturally like a bit greedy, aren't they? If you Garnacho, Antony, Rashford, they're all like shot first when they get it. You saw that when he could have squared it for Højlund in the Arsenal game, Rashford, and he just like again tunnel vision, don't look around him, don't have awareness, and they need to improve that because if you got a striker in there now, combine the ability with less selfishness, and you should be fine.
I think that's the area where Ahmad or Pelistri can actually come in and steal minutes from these players because both of them like to cross the ball a lot. And if anyone watched the World Cup during the course of the World Cup and Uruguay were playing and they had Suarez up top and sometimes they had Nunez up top. Pelistri used to be, just taking on defenders and striking balls in, like crossing in the ball every single time. And that's what's been happening in their international friendlies as well. That's why their manager actually sticks with Pelistri because he's a winger who loves to cross the ball.
Yeah. And he can hold the width as well, equally like Antony does. Like, he will stay out there and he'll beat a man, which I like to see. And he'll actually cross with his right foot rather than his left foot. Dan Edmonton's saying, where have I just seen it? I'm not seeing much of Amrabat. Is he going to be a certain starter for game to game? Well, that's whether he'll be a starter every single game obviously depends how he, kind of transitions into the team. But for his qualities that he has, he should be playing most games. In my opinion, I think you'd probably agree with that as well, wouldn't you? He should be starting most games. It just depends how it translates, and if it might take him a good few months to settle in. But him, Casemiro, and Bruno on paper should be one of the better midfields in the Premier League. Should be being the key word. Let's see what happens. Right, the last thing I wanted to touch on, I saw, and I'm not nicking this. This is a tweet that I saw Alice Abrahams, who we've had on the channel before, and she put like the last 3 years the incidents that have happened at Manchester United. So buckle your belts and listen to this. So this is in the last 3 years at Manchester United, the issues we've had to deal with. 3 women now accusing Antony of assault, 1 set to do a TV interview on it. Sancho's situation, the statement, individual training, everything that's been involved there. The David De Gea situation, which was handled really bad. The whole Greenwood situation, now awful, Richard Arnold handled it. The takeover being dragged on, creating job uncertainty for employers and fans and stuff. Ronaldo goes on Piers Morgan, disrespecting Erik Ten Hag. Bailly comes out and says the club favour British players. Lingard falls out with the club over getting a loan move. Lingard and Martial are going on social media calling Rangnick a liar. Rangnick calls out the full club. Rojo calls out Maguire. Multiple dressing room leaks. Martial interview. Tried to sign Arnautovic, fan outrage. Luke Shaw came out and admitted a lot of United fans weren't 100% committed. Lingard told Scholes the dressing room's a mess. Maguire, Greece situation, the whole Super League debacle that the Glazers and Woodward were the ringleaders behind. And this is all a result of the Glazers running the club like a circus. So there's probably more situations that I forgot about. But just that list is in the space of 2-3 years. And some of them are huge incidents.
Yeah.
Huge incidents. This club is run like a circus. It really, really is. And it's hard being a fan. It really, because we don't know what to expect. We've called it a soap opera before, drama. Like it's an omnibus. It's just episode after episode. There will be something. I predict it over the weekend that comes out that is so negative and people are moaning about, or you just know it, don't you? The way things are going at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the last piece of positive news that we had.
I don't remember the last weekend. Like, we are going into the weekend and we are going in and coming out of it with a positive mindset. That's never happened, I think, in the last 3 years. And like you mentioned, all of these situations, with everything there, there's also been other stuff that has been going on behind the scenes and has actually not been able to come out. So, and in that atmosphere, you expect a manager to actually come out and win trophies. And Ten Hag actually made it to finals last season. It speaks a lot. It speaks a lot for the kind of manager he is.
That's why context is important, because people always go, Ten Hag's. I've seen people already turning the back on Ten Hag. And I'm like, you not know this club? This is what happens. This is the second season, third season. It's constant turmoil at the club. Contracts aren't handled appropriately. The Glazers are making a mess up top. And the manager's let to deal with it. With all things considered last year that he had to deal with, to get third in a trophy. That's why I was saying, why is he not even considered as one of the managers of the season?
Yeah.
I never understood that. And that's not even bias. People will call it bias, but it's not. Like he was moving on the dancing carpet, or dancing on the moving carpet, I think the phrase
is. He practically played with 10 men throughout the course of the last 3 months on that pitch, and still managed to, actually pull in some very decent performances. And, he was able to play attacking and, football that actually, is good on the eye to see. And he had to play in the likes of Weghorst in a 10 for actually to make that happen at times as well. And if anything, you remember when he came in, it was the start of the season and McTominay was keeping Casemiro out because McTominay was actually performing well. For a manager to actually get the best out of McTominay as well, it's a very tough task.
Yeah. One situation I don't even mention either out of that list of just awfulness is the fact that the Glazers, I don't know if you've seen the report of this, invited a fucking convicted paedophile to the stadium about a year ago, and we're only just hearing about it now. Like I thought they would have known that with Avram just being in the stadium alone, but someone just put that in there. Scoreboard just put it. Surely the worst thing we did was invite a convicted paedophile, Jeff Konopka, to a WSL match as a guest of honour. Yeah, everything we do, top to bottom, shit, absolutely shit. Like Tim 1999 says there, absolute legend, saying Ten Hag has navigated things really, really well. And these Ten Hag out tweets and fucking people who are trying to get clicks for being controversial are just absolute idiots. I will back this manager for a lot of stuff that he's done. So I have absolute faith in him. Look, he's made a couple of tweaks at the start of the season that hasn't necessarily worked. But I think with the personnel that's coming in, I think you'll see a big change, change.
And people, they need to accept the fact that Ten Hag will make mistakes as well. It will take him time to actually learn more. It's only been his first season in the Prem. And all of these other managers that you see are performing well with their teams. Arteta took practically 4 to 5 years to actually, get this team working straight. He managed to actually get Arsenal out of European football altogether, just for being able to once again scratch in and build this team up again. Pep, the thing is, he's been blessed with cash, but at the same time, even he took time to actually adapt his play style to the Premier League. Klopp came in and it took him a big considerable time to actually start challenging for trophies. But one thing that's been constant, I wouldn't say that about Arteta, but Arteta actually got time. But with Klopp and Pep has been that they've actually been given a much more stable environment than Manchester United. They've been given a lot more control over the team and they've been allowed to actually, progress with the team in the direction they want. That has never been given to any manager who's managed Manchester United. You talk about Jose Mourinho, you talk about Oli, you even talk about Erik Ten Hag. None of them have gotten that sort of control or that sort of power with this team.
Yeah. And don't forget, people will throw that thing like Ten Hag has spent 400 million or whatever it is. Don't forget, other teams around us have spent as well. So it's not like we've just spent this money and we've got an advantage. Chelsea spent £1 billion under Todd Bowley now. Tottenham spent more than us in the transfer market. Well, maybe not now with Amrabat's loan fee. But I think Tottenham spent 191 million. We spent 190 before we signed Amrabat. So they spent more in that market. So people will have the narratives and they will have certain things to discuss about Manchester United. But that's one thing we're always hated, adored. Never ignored. That's just
And the
Manchester
point,
United
and the biggest point of all of it is, if you say that Ten Hag has actually paid 200 million, he would have paid just 120 million if the Glazers were much more active when it came to transfers. Because we managed to overpay and actually, shrug on deals till the end of the window. So we had to pay 40 or 50 million euros more just to sign the player all over again. And if you take that,
multiple situations with that as well. Like not just one player, loads of players.
And if we could have sorted that out, that fee of 200 just goes down to 120 like in an instant.
Dramatically. Yeah. Well, Alessandro we overpaid. Antony we overpaid. Rasmus Højlund we definitely overpaid. I'm trying to think of other players. Malacia cheap. Ericsson was on a free. Who else have we brought in this summer? Mount, some people would argue probably overpaid. Onana was a good deal.
Yeah.
Who else have we signed? I'm trying to think. Is that everyone? Have I missed someone?
Amrabat we got in, he's on loan.
Casemiro was probably about right, I would say, at like 60 million
because Madrid just won the Champions League as well. Like he was a Champions League winning CDM, and
one of the surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because and once again, one of the best CDMs in the world. He's a living legend. He's genuinely a living legend when it comes to this game. He's won it all.
He'll be an icon on FIFA. That says everything you need to know.
I think people actually underrate him a lot because for what he's achieved throughout his career, you can say that when you look at the accolades and the trophies that he has got, there's not many players who have actually done it. What Casemiro has actually done.
Yeah. Agreed. Right, I didn't have this plan trail, so that was the last thing I wanted to discuss, but there's quite a few of you in the chat, we'll stay on for another 10 to 12 minutes.
Sure.
What I'll do is, from the first month of the Premier League, now from games that you've watched, both of us create a team who's been the best players in your personal opinion.
Okay.
Yeah? So, obviously, if you pick a certain goalkeeper, I can't have him. But then, if you pick the first goalkeeper, I get to have the right back, okay? So, do you want to go first, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah.
So, what goalkeeper would you have? Who's been the most informed, do you think? Onana, very nice. Okay. Yeah, even though he's conceded goals, people say,
I don't remember the Arsenal game again, and I saw them, trying to press Onana in the first 15 minutes, but after that, they just gave up.
Yeah,
they just stopped running at him altogether.
Well, it completely broke their pressing structure, didn't it? Like, because when one would step out, it's like, oh, he's free over there now at left back. He was so unsure about who to press because you're creating overloads in the first phase. It's a bit, it's a bit mad. I'll go with Alisson then. Even I hate Liverpool, but I think Alisson's made some unbelievable saves for them. I think the Newcastle game in particular, he was a big save in that one. So I'll go with Alisson. Right back. I'm very tempted to go with Wan-Bissaka because he's been unbelievable. I'm trying to think but I'm trying not to be too biased because obviously right back. Kyle Walker's been all right, but then he had that mistake for Sheffield where he backheeled it and gave him the goal. Who else has done really well at right back? I'm trying to think. Any shouts in the chat? Let me know. Matty Cash. Yeah, Matty Cash got a couple of goals, didn't he? Last thing, Do you know what? I'll just go with Walker. I'll go with Kyle Walker because I think he's been pretty exceptional. Got himself a new contract and stuff, but made one mistake. So it's like, not really bothered. Who would you go for, Shreyas?
Right back.
Let me have a look.
Tough.
I'm gonna go on the Prem app just to see. Cause
sure. I'm on the same thing.
I'll
actually go with Malo Gusto. I think he's looked very bright for Chelsea. He's come in. Because Reece James got injured and he's managed to actually get 2 assists already. And it's just been 4 games.
Yeah. I think that's fair. So you'll go with Gusto?
Yeah.
It's all right. Centre-backs. Who stood out for you in a centre-back position? I think... you had the first pick on this because I had right back, so you go first.
I think for centre-backs, I'll have to say...
I think Anderson's been good for Crystal Palace.
Anderson has been good for Palace.
Yeah.
I
Ake.
think Ake has been. I think I'll go with Romero first from Tottenham.
Romero. Okay.
He's looked.
Okay.
I know what he brings to the table, but if I have to judge him just for the first 4 games of the season, he's been a rock for Tottenham in that back line.
Yes. Yeah. If you're going to take Romero, I will take. I'm trying not to go for like the obvious ones, but I think Zuma did really well, but he kicked a cat, so he's not going in my team at all.
Yeah.
Varane was good up until he got injured. Trying to think. Oh, I'll take Anderson. I quite like Joachim Anderson for Palace, so I'll put him in my team. Who would you have? Oh, it's my pick now, isn't it? Alongside him. Oh, I don't know. I'll go. I'll have Saliba. I'll go with Saliba. Again, I've got a City player, Liverpool player, and I'm gonna have to get a United player in there at some point. So I've got Alisson, Walker, Joachim Anderson, Saliba. Who are you having as your other centre back?
I think for my other centre back, I'll go with Ruben Dias. I'll have to go Ruben Dias because he started really bright for Manchester City in that back line.
Yeah, that's fair. Ruben Dias, you get the choice on the left back. Shreyas, I'm hoping you're not going to take my pick, but I'll see. Who you go for?
I'm going for Estupinian.
I knew he was going to pick him. Fucking knew he was going to pick him.
Has been top 3 left backs in the league. Yeah.
I think he's been the best, to be honest with you. There's loads of others that fell off. Obviously, Shaw's out injured. Robertson isn't the same player that he was for Liverpool. I'm just looking at left backs now. I can't even Rico Henry's been all right for Brentford, but he plays more as a wing back, so it's not entirely sure on that. Dan Burns been shit for Newcastle. He's been torn apart.
This one underrated player actually who's been getting good.
Oh, Udogie. Yeah, I would go with Udogie. Yeah, I really like Udogie. I would. That's who I'll go for. Udogie. Sorry if anyone's putting in the chat. I've not got it up. Let me just see if there's any comments. It keeps coming up. Udogie. I'm trying to put Udogie. It keeps saying fucking Udogie. Every time I can't change it, so I'll just what are we saying in the chat? Let me see. Shout Sam. Great minds think alike, saying Udogie. Dan Evans saying Romero and Ake. Ake's been good. Matty Cash as well, saying we signed a backup goalkeeper. I forgot his name already. It's outside Bayende, and it's something like that. Yeah. Vince is saying Glazers will invite Prince Andrew next. Oh my God, we need them out. Well, yeah. Nothing will surprise you with the Glazers. So is that's the back line done?
Back line done.
Correct.
Yeah.
Back line done. Is it my choice now for the midfielder?
Yeah, you go first.
Because you did left back, didn't you? Yeah. Right. Who do I want? Do you know what I'm going to put in there? I'm going to put Mberno because I think he's been really, really good for Brentford. And I said at the start of the season, not start of the season.
Isn't he a winger? Mberno is a winger, right?
Yeah, but then it's to be fair, he's been playing in the 2 with Vissos, so I'll save that for an attacker. You're right. Yeah. Maddison. I'll take Maddison 100%. Okay. He's another one who I said he'll be the best signing when we did the season review. He's been such a good signing under Postecoglou. So James Maddison's in there for me.
Yeah.
Who are you going for, Mr. Singh?
I'll go with someone different and I'll say James Ward-Prowse.
Ward-Prowse has been fantastic. He could be another sign of the season.
Yeah, he's come in 4 games and 4 goal contributions.
Yes. Yeah, he's been really, really good. Like I said, the way they spent that Declan Rice money, they've done it really, really well, to be honest with you. Upgrading in quite a few areas. So Ward-Prowse in there. Who was your left back again? Was it?
My left back was Estupinian.
Estupinian, yeah. Just because it wasn't on there. I'm going to do a nice little graphic after it and do a little poll.
Yeah.
So you've got Ward-Prowse in there. I'll go with, I think, Rodri. I think Rodri's been fantastic for Manchester City.
Yeah.
Always scores big goals for him as well. I was close to saying Manchester United then. I'm so glad I didn't. Who's next up for you in midfield?
In midfield, I'll have to
Before you take your pick, can I just say he's someone who's been really, really underrated? Solly March for Brighton.
Yeah, he has been.
He seems to get a lot of goals and assists for Brighton, but never gets spoken about.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. But,
I think he's actually very decent Like if he had to,
Yeah, he's good player.
if a club came in for him, I think they'll actually have to pay like 40-45 million to actually get him. That's how good he's been
Yeah,
for them.
yeah.
But for me, I think I'll have to go Bruno Guimaraes in midfield.
Guimaraes, very nice.
Yeah.
Ward Prowse and Guimaraes in there. Take that, and it's putting guitars. Spell correct on here, honestly. Guimaraes. Who's next? Me next, in it to add to the midfield. I'm trying to think of balances. Rodri, Madison. Need like a more of an 8. Who do I want? Enzo Fernandez.
Enzo Fernandez.
He's been Chelsea's best player by fucking. And do you know what as well? He's played in so many different positions for them. Like he's
He's played cam, he's played 6, he's played 8.
Yeah,
he's actually played
so
centre forward.
Yeah, he's played as like one of the forward players, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with him. He's a player, you know, you look back at you think who United should have signed. Remember when Ragnick mentioned him?
And we could have bought him for 20 million.
Yes. Yeah, what a player he would have been. Massive.
Can you imagine
player.
midfield with Casemiro, Bruno, and Enzo?
Yeah, bro. Honestly, he's such a good player. So, yeah, I'll have that midfield. I think I'm very happy with that midfield.
Yeah.
Who are you going for?
One of my favourite players in that CDM position, I'll go Palhinha.
Palhinha, yes. Yeah. Have you seen the reports him in United?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
In January?
Yeah.
Very interesting. I smell a Scott McTominay swap deal in cash there.
If it happens, we've got the best midfield in the league. Hands down. No conversations.
It's January, though, isn't it? It's January, so you know it'll be a loan deal for someone else, something along the lines of that. But we do need a long-term Casemiro replacement, which they are looking at for next season as well.
If the takeover happens, till then you never know.
Yeah. Right. Who are you having at right wing, Shreyas?
Right wing. I'll not put Saka. I'll put in Mo Salah. I think Salah and right wing.
Salah. Yeah. Another one who's got a little bit gone under the radar, but he still always gets goals and assists for Liverpool.
4 goal contributions already.
Yeah. If you're having Salah, I'll go with Saka, I think. And then we'll do striker or left winger next. You pick. I get to pick it, but I'm not asked. I'll have the striker or left winger. So
for striker, I'll go left winger first, and I'll pick Matoma.
Matoma, very nice, very nice. Matoma, striker. Let me have a look. That's gonna be hard.
You're picking the striker first or left winger first for you?
Well, because you picked the left winger, I was going to pick the striker first because they're the last two. So which one do you want? So Haaland's just. I'm sorry, but that's a fucking.
Without a question of a doubt.
Yeah. So and then you've got your striker, and I've got my left winger left. So who are you going for?
I'll go Evan Ferguson, up top.
Oh, that's a really good shout.
Yeah.
He's been amazing. Since just 18 years old as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Looks like a proper legit striker, doesn't he, Evan Ferguson?
The next Harry Kane.
A striker who we would definitely sign if it was back in the day. If it was under Fergie, we would definitely sign him. Then left winger, I'll have Mberno on there. You know, he's a winger in it, so I'll put him in there because I think he's been fantastic for Brentford. So they are the two teams who we think form-wise in the Premier League have done really, really well. Let us know your thoughts on it. People putting a Doge, Tottenham. I've already read them comments out, sorry. But yeah, let us know what you think of the teams. We'll put a graphic out on Insta, do a little poll. And that is time. That's perfect time in 12:59. 1 minute till 1 o'clock. We'll be live again at 7 o'clock with a breaking news show again, discussing more items. I'm sure there'll be more news surrounding United because we are a soap opera. Make sure you stay locked in. If you want to become a member, film a members video shortly, whether today or tomorrow, and get that out for over the weekend. So if you want to become a member, make sure you click the join button next to the notification bell, or click the link in the description. Big thank you to Shreyas for coming on, mate. It's nice to be back on, isn't it?
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yeah, as always. And look, it's the international break, so we're going to try and push as much content out there so you don't have to watch shitty England or whatever international team you support, because let's be honest, the football's diabolical. So, yeah, have a lovely weekend, everyone, and we'll be seeing you very, very shortly. Take care. Peace.
We want to play out, and we want to play out. We want to play out, and we want